YouTubers! Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel, the voice of the Commonwealth. Okay, well, British economy shrinks more than 300 years thanks to COVEY? Chancellor warns? Wait, well, that's a huge decline in the British economy. So now we're going to debunk whether or not this is true. So just days after UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson confirmed that the second English COVID lockdown would soon come to an end, blah, 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 grim numbers. So we're not going to go into this because I want to go into this. Britain's facing physical deterioration unprecedented in peacetime history. So unless they find a war they could go to, they're in a lot of trouble. So I'm not going to get into this because there's no point. I'm going to get into debunking what is happening in England and how this happened way before COVID, and we can put this to bed, and you don't have to worry about what chancellors are warning you or what they're trying to tell you. So they're saying, oh, Mike, that's from Zero Hedge. Yeah, that's Russian propaganda. Well, here goes. So let's start off with what's happening recently. Bank of England boosts government bond buying in desperate race to avoid double-dip recession. What's a double-dip recession? Well, when you go double time into a negative territory and creating a worse-off effect. So here it is. The Bank of England kept its key rate at 0.1%, but the increase of so-called quantitative easing is significantly more than £100 billion market analysts and economists had predicted. So it's a lot more. So any analyst out there that thinks they know what's going to happen with the world or where it's headed or where they think they know what's happening, they don't know nothing because you don't know what these people are doing on the back end. So you could economist all you want and all the graphs you want and figure out what you want to figure out. I think you put that knowledge to work in playing the markets and understanding and following the mainstream media and following what they think is happening, interpreting through the markets. I've done well doing that. I've done very well. The bank said economic outlook was unusually uncertain and the recovery starting for the first quarter of 2021 will take time. GDP is not expected to make back to its end of 2019 level before early 2023. So looking at a couple of years to bounce back. Well, what's happening? Well, this is an article I read here on the channel over a year ago on trends in the housing market. More than 8 million people in England living in unsuitable housing. This is before COVID. So people were living like this. I'm not making this up. I've had a lot of people comment and email me after I read this article. More than 8 million people, equivalent to the population of London, are living in unsustainable housing in England, according to analysis suggested by the scale of housing crisis could be far worse than officially estimated. So what's happening? Empty homes. England's littered with empty investor properties that's created shortages and made homeowners wealthy on paper and created these artificial bubbles where people have to move to Middle England to survive, or Ireland or Scotland. Now, this is from a year ago. I read this on the channel too. This is before COVID. Food banks now outnumber McDonald's in Britain. So this goes to show, so here it is. McDonald's and 500 Burger Kings, 500 Starbucks, and over 2,000 food banks. So there it is right there. We discussed this on the channel. We covered this on the show. Just more food banks than McDonald's. That goes to show that people can't afford. Look, a Lamborghini there. Whoa. So it goes to show that a lot of people can't afford to live. And that's a great shot right there. There you got the guy walking in yellow with the whole McDonald's that way and the Lamborghini and another sports car here. And the locals having to take public transit because they can't afford to drive these cars on the streets. And what is happening? Well, this is London's poverty profile. So tackling poverty and inequality. And this is official data from 100 indicators revealing patterns in poverty and inequality. So we go into populations, topics, and boroughs, and it breaks down. I went through this, and so 28% of Londoners are living in poverty and after housing costs. So they're in poverty because of the cost of housing. London households are in a temporary accommodation, an increase of 30% compared to 5 years ago. That's a lot. And 76% of children in poverty in London are in working families, an increase of 8% to 80,000 children from 5 years ago. 80,000 children, and that is working families. That is usually average wage earners that have families, because minimum wage is really tough. But let's move on. Let's move on. So what's happened? Well, low rates have inflated the housing crisis, but a lot of people are avoiding this from 2016. Wealthy Chinese investors are going to make Britain's housing crisis even worse, and wealthy investors from China could flood up the UK property market with billions in the next 10 years, further pushing up house prices according to the new report from The Guardian. The role of investment from wealthy families and funds from the Middle Eastern states like Qatar and EUA is already well known. So this is what's happening, guys. The flood of currency coming in, it's like when you're putting in, picture it like this. When you're bringing in money to buy property, especially if a lot of it is laundered and a lot of it is unclaimed, like in Canada, we got $200 billion in 4 years of investigation. From 2011 to 2015, we've uncovered $200 and something billion laundered through Canadian property. But the problem is, they don't want to continue this investigation. The Liberal government shut that down. But London may have the opportunity, if they have Brexit and they actually start filling out documents and accords to protect their locals, because the locals are the ones that actually contribute to the infrastructure and keep the cities going. Foreign money comes in, lots of empty units. Let's see how many empty units from the last thing we have. Let me just find it for you guys here real quick. Sorry, I didn't have this prepared, but let's go here. So it is empty properties. Let's see what they say in London. So this is a thing that I represent. Vacant homes are a global epidemic, and Paris is fighting it with a 60% tax. So let's see if London is here. So in London, so we got 59,000 empty dwellings. Let's look at this here. So you're looking at accommodation or like accommodation issues. Temporary accommodation, 56,000. And if you want to take a gander back at this, where the hell did I put that article? Right there. I mean, it all adds up in the end. It all adds up. It doesn't lie. Math is the one thing that doesn't lie. So I kind of wanted to throw this out there to create awareness that it's just not. And look at the New York City mass exodus, 308,000 units that are not hooked up to the hookups. These are most of these that are not hooked up to the hookups, that don't have cable, internet, and all the other stuff that people refuse to pay because they're not there, right? And they don't want to rent out their properties, right? So this is what's happening, and this is why you got, look at Toronto, 99,000, and look at Vancouver, 66,000, and 213,000. And then, again, these properties become vacant. They create this artificial bubbles, and these cities are just turning into empty shells. And London is turned into a major empty shell. Mind you, the stabbing rate is up quadruple or 500 times. People are getting more and more stabbings per day in London. It's just crazy. That's another discussion for another time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Once you start flooding in a country and buying up their properties or buying up their assets and just leaving them there to sit on to go up in price, yeah, they're going to go up in price. I don't see why not when there's so much money being flooded into the market. Think of it like this. Think of it, you have a freshwater lake, and the laundered money that's coming in is saltwater. So you got the salt water coming in. It's adding to the freshwater lake. It's going to get to a point where the salt water is going to start overtaking the fresh water, and the lake starts to die. And that's what's happened right now across the Commonwealth. It's happened in Australia, New Zealand, every English-speaking country with their open, free markets have created this problem. Canada, Western United States. Right now, with the presidency change in the United States, I think you're going to see America turn into Amerifornia. I'm coining that. I coin terms on here. Nobody ever gets it on my channel. Other big channels pick it up and run with it with their 3 million subscribers. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Did I do a good job reporting this? Let me know. Thanks for watching.